VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision-impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
I took a musket ball in Chancellorsville.
Hi, I'm Mike Byer, Executive Director for Operation Song, where we pair Nashville's songwriters with veterans, active duty military, and their families to tell their stories through the process of songwriting. Our services are 100% free, and songwriting or musical talent is not required. For more information, check us out at operationsong.org. If you think this is something you're interested in, email us at contact@operationsong.org.
Till the last Monday in May.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
You are listening to
Share the Wisdom. That's all about helping to empower the wisdom. From the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, here's your host, Mr. Benjamin Keeley.
Keith, as always, you just make us look so good. Keith in the studio. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Share the Wisdom from Wisdom for the Blind in the Fort Lauderdale studio. Tonight, we got a great show. We have Peter with Spectrum. He's going to be talking about their organization and some things that they're doing. Hey, Peter, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Ben. How are you? It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's good. I hadn't seen you for a while, we met at the ACB convention, and you were right next to us for a few days. Great.
That's right. We were cellmates, booth mates.
Booth mates, cellmates. Yeah, that was a good show, and I learned a lot about what you guys are doing. So if you don't mind, can we start off and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you've been doing and how you got started, and if you don't mind, a little bit about your eyesight.
Okay, yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Petr Kucheryavyy, and I spent most of my life now here in the States, originally from Ukraine, and we immigrated here. Got to do the math now. 34 years ago, and one of the really interesting things about emigrating from another country into the States as a young child is you have the advantage of being able to really learn a new language, learn a new culture, adapt really well. But the disadvantage is that your parents don't. And so one of the things that started to happen very early on in my life, right around age 8, 9 years old, is there was something really noticeably off with my eyesight that my parents detected, but really couldn't quite put their finger on. And not having the ability to navigate the American culture and system of doctors and so on, the healthcare system, they sort of just swept it under the rug for a while, and it was a very kind American lady that noticed and through a dictionary persuaded my mother to take me to a low vision clinic. So this lady drove me to the clinic where I got a diagnosis. Essentially, that would change over time, but it was very obvious very early on that I was losing a substantial amount of my sight, what seemed like at a rapid pace at that point. And so that began my really long and turbulent journey, and trying to figure out what it was that was happening to me. It's believed that because I was born just before the nuclear power plant explosion in Ukraine, and there were a lot of health implications that came with that to the folks in the surrounding area. Being as vulnerable as I was at 2 months old, it was believed that there was an environmental impact that caused my vision loss. I don't know that there's any one great way to prove anything in terms of what happened. All I know is that I'm here now, and over the course of my life, I've lost the majority of my sight. At the level of observation for an ophthalmologist, it looks like I have something akin to cone rod dystrophy. So for those who have something like RP, macular degeneration, Stargardt's, some of these folks will be really familiar. But I lost my central sight first, so kind of the reverse of typical retinitis pigmentosa, if you're familiar with that. I lost my central sight first, and that sort of spread into my peripheral vision.
That started young then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it started young. I mean, I still maintain a good deal of my eyesight into my teenage years, just enough to get me in trouble, as the saying goes, because I didn't start using a cane until I was in my 20s. And so up until that point, I was really, fake it till you make it was my motto. And I really, coming from a culture that wasn't incredibly embracing of disabilities and the independence that people can experience with those disabilities, that just wasn't a thing. So the notion of having a disability was a terrifying prospect to my parents. And so they really wanted, I think, for their own sort of mental protection, to pretend like it wasn't there. That certainly didn't do me well, and I think they meant well in their own way, but just sort of coming from the backgrounds that they did and living in a country completely unfamiliar to them, they really had no idea how to navigate that system. And so, unfortunately, that left me to sort of do it on my own. And when I was about 15 years old, I realized I was not getting through the education system in an effective way. I wasn't able to read effectively anymore, not with magnifying glasses or any tools that were made available to me. At best, I could read one letter at a time and lose my place because your peripheral vision isn't really intended for reading. And so that ability lapsed pretty early on, right around age 10. So 10 to 15, I sort of navigated through the education system like a boat without an engine, just sort of moving as the tides took me. And then at 15 is when I really pulled the plug and said, I gotta get out of this education system and do something different.
So were you in the States or were you in Ukraine?
Yeah, so I was in the States, and then when I left the school system at 15, I had to push through until about 16, which was the legal age to drop out of high school. So I had to do some homeschooling. But what I did is I went back and forth between the States and Ukraine, spending a good deal of my time back in my homeland, thinking that maybe life would be a little bit more sensible and easier there. Over the course of those next several years of doing construction work, believe it or not, and living in Ukraine, I really realized that I needed some serious help. Ukraine was not very inviting to people with vision loss or disabilities of any type, and neither was the construction industry. So right around age 20 or so is when I had a massive breakthrough in terms of discovering technology, assistive technology, and that entire world of adaptive tools.
And that breakthrough, was that in the States or still in Ukraine?
That was. I was. It's kind of a funny story, Ben. So in those days, people were still using 411 a lot. Remember that? You'd dial the operator and get some assistance there. So I dialed.
Now they charge for it. So.
That's right. That's right. Well, if you can operate a smartphone, you can find anything these days. But I had no resource, no technology. I had no ability to read a phone book. I couldn't do anything effectively anymore. And so I dialed 411 and I just started saying things into the phone that made any kind of sense, like help for people who can't see very well, that kind of stuff. And so eventually I got a live operator that figured out what I was up to and helped me find a Center for the Visually Impaired in Atlanta, Georgia.
Very cool.
And that's where that journey began.
And that's when you started turning the corner and finding that there was life after blindness and getting involved with technology.
That's exactly right. I mean, I found the light, I found the tunnel, I found it all. I feel like in one swoop, I discovered that there had been a door in front of me the entire time. I just couldn't see it, with a little bit of a pun there. Yeah. And so I just, while it wasn't easy, it didn't necessarily become automatically easy. In some ways, things actually became harder because I had to learn how to be a functioning blind person in society. And there's a whole lot of skills that you have to learn that come with that, like how to use a cane and read some Braille and use technology and, all these adaptive skills that I had to learn. But so, maybe I needed some help opening that door and walking through it. But the reward that came with it was infinitely, more, I guess, rewarding to me than living the life that I was. I found hope. I found inspiration in other blind people, which was something that I lacked. I didn't know a single other person who had gone through vision loss. And so I discovered other people who were incredibly independent, living very fruitful, productive lives, who had gone through something similar to me. And so I found a lot of inspiration in that because there was a lot of synchronicity there. And so that helped me understand that I had what it took to do it.
And that's the important part, and that's what we try and do with Wisdom for the Blind is, we try and provide, data and resource and knowledge and all these podcasts that we do, it just shows that, hey, there's life, just step out there. And, that's a tremendous story. So once you identified and you got back to the States and you started getting the resources, what did you do as far as education? Because, you and I had some nice talks when we were in Jacksonville. You're very knowledgeable. Where did you get that knowledge from?
Well, I think that the passion in my heart was academia. I really wanted an education. So the fact that I had to drop out of high school and go to that, construction path and all that, none of that was in line with what I wanted to do. I wanted to read, study, and teach. And so the first thing that I did is I had to take about a year's worth of coursework to make up for all that lost time that I missed out on in school. So I jokingly tell people I had to learn how to read and write real good and learn how to use a computer and learn how to use spell check. I was desperately in need of spell check just because coming from Ukraine and then plunging into a new language and then losing your eyesight and losing your literacy in the midst of that, you really find yourself as an adult, as a young adult at that point, not knowing how to truly, read and write, grammar, things like that. And so I had to do about a year's worth of coursework on that. And then I studied for another couple of years at a local community college. And then I got...
Was that in Georgia?
It was in Georgia, yeah. So I got really lucky because I had a professor who... This happened to me twice. I had a professor that took me under his wing and said, tell me what's the most radical thing that you wanted to accomplish in your life that you felt like you couldn't? And I said, I really want to go to this university called Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. And he said, well, you should apply. And I said, are you kidding me? I've got a GED. I'm a high school dropout. I've got construction work as my background. They're never going to accept me. And he said, they're never going to accept you if you don't apply either. And so I did. I applied and I poured my heart out and I was honest about my story and why my background looked the way that it did. And I got incredibly lucky and they accepted me. And so that's where I completed my education.
That's a very good school.
It's a great school. And I count my blessings every day because I just, once I fell into these opportunities, it was like one thing after another just opened up for me. And it's kind of like you said, that once you believe that there is light or there is a life after blindness, once you've entered into that belief, you actually start discovering one thing after the other that confirms that.
So you graduated from Emory with?
I did. I graduated with a degree in anthropology and religious studies, believe it. Nothing related to what I'm doing, but it gave me a lot of pleasure.
So we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we can get a little bit more of your story, and then we're going to talk about what you're doing today and how you got there. So if you stick with us for just a few seconds, and we'll check in with the studio. And for you guys, please stay with us. We got a great story coming. This is Ben for Share the Wisdom. We'll be right back.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind. Are you a big geek? Do you enjoy learning about new technology? Then join us on the fourth Thursday of every month for the Wisdom Geek Club at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, hit up w4tb.org and click on the Geek Club button on the main page. And don't forget to share the wisdom with a friend. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Hey everybody, this is Ben with Share the Wisdom, and thanks for sticking with us. And we're back here with our good friend Peter. And Peter, so when we left, you were telling me that you were finishing up at Emory and then you graduated. What happened after graduation?
Well, at the time I had a lot of interest in how we approach the concept of aging and end of life. And so I worked in hospice care for a while, which was incredibly rewarding. But I've gotten a certification as a health and wellness coach. So I was starting some work with clients as a life and well-being coach. And at that time, I had a friendship that opened sort of some new doors for me. A friend who used a wheelchair, and we discovered the world of accessibility or lack thereof that existed. And so I found sort of this new passion that I wanted to pour some of my time into, which is giving back to the disability community, because I'd found a lot of great resources for myself, and I felt like I'd selfishly taken advantage of them. So it was time to give back. And one of those opportunities that became really impactful for me was the Colorado Center for the Blind in Colorado, which was a state that I moved to shortly after graduating college. They had this really interesting program where you put these blindfolds on and you go through your entire program. If you have any remaining sight, things like skiing, snowboarding, rock climbing, canoeing, and that kind of thing. And I was really attracted to that because I had some fear around some of those things as somebody who was blind. And so I did that and stuck around and had a few jobs there, which was really cool. I mean, I had this sort of firsthand access to blind people that were going through something really similar to what I'd gone through. And so having had that life experience and journey, I was able to actually offer something, something back to my own community.
That's a big part. I enjoy when I'm able to talk with people that are just going through that and they're like all stressed out and bummed and everything, to be able to say, hey, there's all kinds of tools out there, a lot of things. I'm working with a gentleman right now that we've become good friends, and he's been blind for almost 4 years. And, exposing him to accessibilities on the iPhone and this and that and the Victor Reader. And, he's just like, wow, independence. So it's a big thing in your art when you can do that.
It's incredibly rewarding too. I feel like you re-nurture a side of yourself that maybe you don't need nurturing anymore. But by nurturing that in others and giving them the tools and resources that they need, somehow it feels like you're taking care of yourself all over again. So it was really incredibly rewarding.
I agree. It always is. So after the center, then what happened?
Well, it was a kind of an interesting thing that unfolded there. I was one of my hats that I wore there was leading the employment services for the students coming through and getting the training. We call them students there, but it was an adult program, One of them was a man who'd been in the corporate world and was teaching at the University of Denver. I believe he was teaching some business classes, and overnight he lost his sight. He just woke up in the morning and realized, I think he had a hemorrhage or something like that. I can't remember the details now, but and so he come through the program, and then when he left, he wanted to go back to the corporate world, and he found an opportunity with Spectrum, who was launching their brand new accessibility initiatives at the time. And so he was leading that program, and he asked me if I wanted to come over and help build the program and contribute to its growth. And it seemed so far out of my world, even though I was teaching technology classes at that point, working with seniors. So I was running an outreach program for the senior department there in an 8-county area, and teaching technology classes and independence living and that kind of thing. And so I had familiarity with technology, but I was incredibly intimidated by the world of accessibility and working with developers and engineers and that kind of thing. And so, long story short, he persuaded me to come over. And so I'd spent, I asked for a month's worth of time before starting, and I really used that month to read every developer book I could find, so that I, felt comfortable. And I still didn't, but it's been a really, really incredible journey watching the accessibility program grow.
How long have you been with the company?
Every aspect of the business.
How long have you been with Spectrum?
Coming up on 7 years now here.
So you were the start of the Spectrum project.
Yeah, I was in the very early days. In fact, I think, we've got a team of 22 people or so. I think I'm the longest standing member of the team now.
Let me ask you a question. Corporate world's like bizarre out there because it's fast paced. And when you went in and you're starting this new program, how did the corporation and the people around you accept you and provide the tools and the ability for you to do your job? Was it difficult, or was it like
that's
wide
a great
open
question. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to keep in mind that for 6.5 years I'd been with an employer that was focused on blindness training. So just about all the people around me were blind. It couldn't have been more accessible. I mean, I think during that time, I felt the least disabled I'd ever felt in my entire life. And that was an incredible immersion and feeling and boost of confidence. And when you step back out of that world into the real world, if you will, into the corporate world, you're oftentimes the only blind person in the room, in the space. And so that's not an easy thing to do, because not only do you have to sort of face some of the, challenges of maybe things not being accessible, or nobody's really thought about that experience before, but you also have to be the educator. In order to be successful, you have to pave your own path oftentimes. And I do feel like that's what the journey's been, though I will say now that it's been, almost 7 years that I've been here, there are a lot of paved paths all throughout the company that make it a lot easier. And so, yes, I find it incredibly rewarding to do something from the ground up, as challenging as it was to start, to look back at it now and say, hey, I had something to do with this.
That's pretty exciting.
That's to purpose a lot.
So you started, and there was no program for accessibility, and you built this. And what I see in the tools that you guys offer, you built you and your team have come a long way and built a great foundation there. So tell us about what Spectrum's doing for the disability, and go from there.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I mean, it really isn't me building it. We do have a team of people that are really dedicated to the work, and it's thanks to everybody here and our colleagues who aren't on the team that really jumped on board and said, I want to be a part of this. I want to play some, even if it's a small role, in making workplace more inclusive, our experience for our customers more inclusive. And so it's thanks to really everybody that plugs in. The way that our team operates, we've got two groups, if you will. One is heavily focused on technology, so on the engineering side, working with developers, designers, engineers to make sure that the requirements for accessibility are built in on the technical front.
So if we can stop there for 1 second, when you say the requirements, we're talking about closed captioning, we're talking about video, audio.
Well, that's right, all of it. But I mean, even in terms of, customers going onto our website, making sure that experience is accessible. Any mobile application that we launch, if somebody's running it on an iPhone, they can use VoiceOver with it. Or if they're running it on Android, TalkBack, even Zoom or things like that. So just making sure that the applications, the sites, the products, the hardware, considers the wide swath of users that are going to be interacting with it.
That's pretty exciting. So what you're saying is that Spectrum is invested in a whole department, a whole team to ensure that everything that they roll out is compliant and accessible. That's
exactly
fabulous.
Right.
That's fabulous for a company to take that initiative and that commitment.
I would say so too. I mean, I've met companies that don't have an accessibility team. I've met companies that have one person that sort of has all that weight on their shoulders, and we're really lucky to have the size of the team that we do and the buy-in that we do. But yeah, so we've got a team that really focuses on product, and then we've got another team, aspect of our accessibility team that focuses on experiences. So, what the customer journey is like for a customer with a disability that calls in. We worked really closely with the customer service team to stand up a disability support team that specializes in accessibility. So when customers call in, they can talk to somebody who knows what they mean when they say, guide narration or voiceover, any of these sort of words that only people who know accessibility would know. And that entire experience journey. So having the ability to request large print or braille for any printed collateral that comes out to their home, being able to find self-support tools online that can help them before they even find the need to call a customer service agent, things like that. So, working with our marketing team to make sure that our marketing is inclusive of people with disabilities and that we're thinking about the customer with a disability when we're putting out things like commercials or whatnot, all of it, the entire experience is really important. And so we're sort of biting away one bite at a time to make sure that we leave an impact there.
Well, and that's important in corporate world. I don't know if you've had the same issue, but credit cards used to have embossed numbers, and to get away from a credit card now, it's just a number that's printed on the back.
Right.
And I remember talking with a major bank, and I got my new card, and I'm like, I can't deal with this card anymore. And you've seen companies like MasterCard coming up with cards that are designed for the blind with notches in them.
Yeah.
So to see that companies such as Spectrum are dealing with this and making sure the customer experience goes all the way, not just a normal, but somebody that needs just a little bit different approach to it. So you have your own 800 number for the blind and the disabled?
That's right. Yeah, we do. And I'll give you a little fun story about the sort of tactile demarcations. You get a router or a modem that comes into your home, and you've got all those outlets on the back, and you don't really know which one is for which cord. Well, we have an industrial design team that got really creative and has been working with our accessibility team to figure out some great universal markings that can go next to each one of those, along with a key that explains what they are, that you can get in Braille, for instance, so that you can plug up your own modem independently and not feel like you're having to guess at which cord goes into which input. So it really is just there's so much room for creativity, and that's part of the excitement. But to answer the second question, with the 1844 number, so if you don't mind, maybe I'll go ahead and hand it out now if there's a person that's listening and is curious. The phone number for the disability support team is 1-844-762-1301. And that takes you directly to that team. So that when you're asking about, whether or not you can get a box that has guide narration that can talk to you, or how you turn it on and that kind of stuff, that team can help you out. They know exactly what you're talking about. And if you end up in a situation where you need a technician to come to your home to assist, talking directly with that team, you're just going to have a lot more better experience. And they'll make sure that truck roll that comes out to your home is absolutely free to you and that you're not getting charged for it. So that's our way of just making sure that we close the gap. If there's not a way for you to self-support yourself in your home and we have to send a technician to you, we'll cover the cost.
I think that's, the programs that Spectrum has, it's pretty awesome to be able to go down to the detail that, you're marking, is this a LAN port or a WAN port? All of that stuff is pretty impressive because, the normal person doesn't think, you got the orange and the blue and you just, plug the one cable into the orange, the other cable goes into the blue.
That's right.
But guess what? We can't see orange. We can't see blue. Right. So what do you do now? So, that's great. Well, we're going to check back in with the studio. And Peter, if you just stick with us, man, this is pretty cool stuff. And for our audience out there, I appreciate you listening. We'll be right back. We're going to check with the studio. This is Ben with Share the Wisdom from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be right back. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for dropping in. This is Ben coming to you from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hey, do you like new technologies? Do you like to learn new stuff? Well, we got a great podcast for you. It's called Share the Wisdom, where we share the wisdom to you. We got great technology, great little advice, all kinds of neat things. So drop in and listen to the latest episode of Share the Wisdom. You can find it on Spotify or Apple iTunes. Please tell a friend and share the wisdom. See you there. Bye.
Hello, listeners. My name is Ellie here at the Wisdom for the Blind Studios, and I have a PSA. Wisdom for the Blind is now on LinkedIn. We can be found at Wisdom for You. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn to keep with us. Don't forget to share the wisdom.
Looking for a fitness app that is accessible for the blind? Well, look no further. Revision Fitness is just what the trainer ordered. This audio and text-based fitness program has a wide selection of fitness options, including cardio, strength, yoga, balance, flexibility, and even progressive relaxation sessions. Download Revision Fitness on the App Store or Google Play, or visit revisionfitnessapp.com and get a free 14-day trial for new users. Find your fit with Revision Fitness. And as always,
Revision Fitness.
Let's change the way we look at it.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. This is Ben from Share the Wisdom at the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale. Today, I have a good friend that I met at the ACB convention in Jacksonville this year with Spectrum, and that's Peter. How are you doing? Thanks for sticking with us, buddy. We're showing a lot of great knowledge. So tell me a little bit about the apps and the services that you guys provide for the experience.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So, one of the probably centerpieces of what people think of when they think of their cable company or their telecom company is the cable box that's in your home, the set-top box. And there's a lot of murmur and talk about cable boxes going the way of the dinosaurs and moving into IP streaming boxes and that kind of thing. So I think that there's a lot of truth there that really the way of the future is in the IP streaming box world, because a lot of that is tied to the cloud and far more agile in its ability to sort of change and keep pace with modern technology. But for a lot of our customers, good customers, they're still very much tied to that set-top box experience. And that is something that we're very, very proud of made accessible through a feature called guide narration, which you can turn on, and you've got speech output happening. So any direction you navigate on the guide, you're going to get that speech output announcing the item that you're focused on. And you can control things like captioning, the description, turning guide narration on and off with some quick shortcut keys. Got a big button remote that's offered. We even have for our standard remote like a little face clip, so you can clip onto the face of the remote, so it hides some of those extra buttons that you don't use regularly. A big request that came in through some focus groups that we did. So these are just all the ways that we've made that product accessible and continue to. I think it's going to stick around a while, and we want to make sure that the experience. But we did recently launch, really this year, a product called Zumo. That's our own stream box that runs the guide on it, and it's a box you can purchase from Spectrum. And for the first time ever, now you have a remote with that product that you can use your voice to navigate. So you can search for actors, you can search for titles, network names, things like that. You can just speak it into your remote with a voice button.
That's pretty cool. I know that I have this major brand TV. I've got like an 85-inch TV, so I can see it along with my Bosch double lens magnifying glasses and everything. But I still have that problem with the remote and everything. We're getting ready to do a forum at sea, and in our focus group, that was one of the biggest complaints was, you go to a hotel or you go to, a cabin in a ship, you get this remote, you can't figure out what it is. So we're actually taking a copy of the remote, and then we're putting notes and everything in Braille and bold print, to support that. But it's always a challenge, I have to get my daughter, hey, put Me TV on. I want to watch MASH, And it's just because trying to navigate in there, it's just difficult.
That's the kind of feedback we were hearing, and I'm not the only blind or low vision person. Several folks here. So in addition to being tied into the community, which is a big part of my job, we've got people right here in the team who are working with the developers and know what that experience is like and what it ought to be like would make it better. So that's another advantage that we have in our pocket right here.
That helps.
And, it helps a lot.
So besides the boxes, what other kind of tools does Spectrum offer?
Yeah, I'll cover just sort of at a high level, because there's a lot of products in this world. They have a lot of apps. And so there's a lot of apps to name, but the main thing to note is the Spectrum TV app, which is really your application with the Spectrum Guide that runs on a variety of platforms, including some smart TVs, Apple TV, Roku. Obviously, it's the centerpiece of the Zumo box. And mobile apps, mobile Android and iOS. The most important thing to mention about that app is that it was designed to work with the accessibility features of the device that it's running. So, for instance, I have an iPhone. When I travel, I don't deal with those remotes. I just can't, there's no way. Even if I figure the remote out, So I just open the Spectrum TV app on my phone. I can use VoiceOver to navigate that. Obviously, if I had an Android, it would be TalkBack. But that's the important thing to note. Whether it's the Spectrum TV app, your local news app, which is the Spectrum News app, or the My Spectrum app that you use to manage your account, these are all designed to work with those accessibility features that you know and love. And that includes any streaming devices. So whatever the accessibility features are native to that platform, those are the ones you would. And then there's a really unique. There's obviously other things that might be worth mentioning. I think I did a brief call out to it. Things like being able to get the channel lineup or your bill and things like that. Things that you get in paper form. You can request those in Braille or large print at no additional charge. Those kinds of things are also, just there's probably a whole host of small experiences that we've thought about to just add an extra touch of positive experience. But in the world of apps, I think that we're probably eager to get to one really important one here that we talked about at the expo, which is Spectrum Access. And
that was my favorite app.
Yeah, it's pretty unique and it's different. It's a really out of the box concept that I think the listeners will appreciate. Is absolutely free. Everyone in the U.S. You don't have to be you don't have to be in our market. You don't have to subscribe to anything. You don't need credentials to use it. And what it is, in essence, is a library of audio description content, closed caption content as well. But for our audience today, I think the most important thing to mention is that you can go in there. We've got about 1,100 titles or so now. And you can find, and that library is constantly growing. So these relationships with our studios and networks are yielding some great content that they're sending over at will, and we really depend on them to do so because that's the only way that we can get that content into the app. We don't have any licensing rights to create that content ourselves, but once they share that with us, we ingest it into the app and make it available to you for free so that you can watch it with whatever platform makes sense to you. So I'll do a really brief how it works, Ben, and then we can take it from there. But the way that the app works is you go in, it's sort of set up like any typical video streaming app, if you will, is kind of the look and feel. You've got categories that you can choose from. You've got a search tab you can go into and look for the content you want. And you can look for content even just by voice. So whether that's Hey Google or Siri, you can use those features to just say things like search Spectrum. And then it'll prompt you which feature would you like, and you can name the title. Actually, with Google, you can say the whole thing in one go. You can search Spectrum Access 4. And then the name of the title. And so it'll tell you if that title is available in the app or not. And if it is, you go directly to it. So from there, once you find the title you want, you've got the option to download the track of your choosing, whether it's closed caption or audio description. Audio description, there's two flavors of it that might be available, sometimes both, sometimes only one of them, depending on what the studio sent over. And that would be audio description only, which is just the audio description track, or audio description with full audio, which is the audio description track that also has the soundtrack for the movie or show that comes along with it. So the way that it works is you have that track that you downloaded, and now when the movie is playing on your TV, on your phone, you hit that sync button for that track, and it will tune into what you use the microphone on your personal device to identify where you are in that movie or show, and it'll pinpoint you to that spot in the track you download. and then it'll start playing it in synchronicity with what's playing in the room.
Yeah,
and so the outcome
so
is
cool.
You've got your movie on your TV and you've got the track device. So if you have the audio description with full audio, you've got the whole thing playing on your device. So in theory, once you've completed that sync, if you don't need to see your screen, you could technically even walk out of the room with your phone and continue to watch. But the added benefit is, I suspect you probably have some folks, some listeners who, in addition to their blindness or low vision, they might have a hearing disability, maybe use hearing aids, and it's an ongoing complication of adjusting sound to everybody's specifications in the room. But the other benefit is you can push that sound through your Bluetooth hearing aids like you would a phone call, and be able to adjust that sound quality to your own preferences, while the people in the room watch at their sound preference as well. Or if you're somebody like me, and you're watching a movie with somebody who doesn't want to hear the audio description, you can just plug an earbud in your ear and be the only one that hears that description, unlike the sort of traditional.
I think that's very cool. In our family, I'm blind, and my wife is hearing impaired. So she likes the closed caption. I like the audio dictation. So we played with the app since I got back from the convention, and she was able to get her closed caption, and I was able to get my audio dictation. And it's great because there are some streaming services out there that do not have any of the available, and was able to sync up. So I mean, it was nice to be able to see that.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I've heard a number of these stories now. People have written me. I have an inbox specific for Spectrum Access for listeners who maybe feel a little confused or want to ask how to use the app or want to provide some feedback. SpectrumAccess@charter.com is the way to write that inbox me there. But I've gotten these great stories about people who are watching movies with their children, and they have a child that is blind or low vision. They use the audio description, they use the captions, or they need the audio description, but their children don't like it, and they can never watch a movie together because the kids get all, upset about the fact that there's extra audio playing,
right.
Or people that the whole family enjoys the audio description in the room. So all these stories bring me a lot of joy because this really is a passion for us. It's not a revenue driving product. It is our way to both increase the availability of audio description, also for the entire blind low vision community in the States, because it's available to anybody. I mean, you can use it. Let's say, for instance, if you're watching a movie in your on-demand library with your Spectrum services, you can use it with that. But you can also use it with any other platform of your choosing, because it doesn't matter what platform it's on. It just needs the audio to that movie. It just needs to know that you have the rights to it, and it does that by checking in on the sound in the room, and it hears, yes, in fact, it does have the movie playing. Doesn't matter what platform, and then it'll synchronize with that and play it on your phone. And if for some reason the sync is slightly out of sync by a split second, let's say you can hear the slight echoing effect, which can happen once it synchronizes, it starts to play, and your device can delay that by a fraction of a second before it actually plays out loud. We've got the forward and backward arrows that you can essentially nudge that track by.
That's so
to get
cool.
it in sync if it didn't land perfectly. I usually have pretty good luck with it. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It's really cool because you can take it anywhere you go. I mean, you can be in a hotel watching a movie, TV there, audio description.
When I was in Jacksonville at the convention, I actually took it up to my hotel room, and I couldn't figure out how to turn audio dictation on, and I was able to do that. be able to watch and have that description. So
well,
I started using
something really important to note. For those who might want to use it with what we in the industry call linear television, that is, movies or shows with commercial ad breaks. Those ad breaks, when they come on, you'll notice that the Spectrum Access app keeps with the track. Once it completes the sync, the track keeps going. And so we noticed that some people were using it with linear television, and when the ad breaks came on, they had to manually resync. So we created a feature, a patented feature, by the way, called Auto Resync. And what it does is it essentially periodically checks back in to ensure that you're still in sync. And so when it does, if you're on an ad break, you'll notice that it's no longer synchronized with the audio in the room, and it reinitiates sync until it's successful on the other side. So you don't have to do anything manually. I just tell people, keep your phone plugged into the charger. That constant, checking in slices a little more battery life. And if you were already low, phone might die. But other than that, that feature really helps.
That's very cool. It's time for us to check back in with the studio for just a quick little PSA announcements. But Peter, just stay with us, man. This is a great little discussion. We'll be right back, if you don't mind.
Sure.
This is Ben. We're with Wisdom for the Blinds. Share the wisdom. We'll be right back.
Living with vision impairment means you need as many advantages as you can get, which is why Wisdom for Blind Youth will be providing a monthly Zoom-like event aimed at helping vision impaired or blind youth 17 old or under. Various topics related to children will be discussed. Remember, the earlier someone gets help for their vision impairment, the more they can develop strategies for navigating life. Get signed up today. Go online to w4tb.org/treehouse. And don't forget to share the wisdom and tell a friend. Veterans deserve as much help as they can get. They put their lives on the line for their country, and yet there's still an ongoing mental health crisis among military veterans that needs to be addressed. Well, if you're a veteran who wants the support of fellow veterans and to support fellow veterans, join Wisdom for the Blind's Cup of Joe virtual coffee and chat. It's low-key, fun, and gives veterans an outlet to talk with others who fully understand what they're going through. Get connected at Wisdom for the Blind's website, w4tb.org/cupofjoe.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Thanks for sticking with us. This is Ben from Share the Wisdom at the Wisdom for the Blind Studios. Here today with us is Peter, and he's with Spectrum and talking about some great tools that they have. Peter, thanks for sticking with us. So I was thinking, one of the questions, how would that work in a movie theater?
Theoretically, the exact same way it does in your home. So the only thing that really stands between you and that movie theater experience is us having those tracks. So those movies, when they come out, they're brand new, and nobody has access to them except the studio and the theater that is given access to that movie a little in advance of its launch. And so they keep that content really close to the chest, and they don't release it. There's no spoilers or anything like that. And so it's really just a relationship bridge that we are trying to build with the studios for that content. There may be some technical implications because there's some slightly different frame rates for theatrical content versus in-home content. We won't nerd out on the technicals of that, but theoretically, for the user, in that experience, it's the exact same thing. So you go into the movie theater, you would download the track for the movie potentially in advance. And by the way, when you download that audio description track, that stores it on your device within the app. So when you access it, you no longer need internet to make that work. So that's the other beautiful part is if you're going into a movie theater, for instance, the internet can get really patchy. But if you've got that track already downloaded in the app and ready to go, you're just using your device to sync the two and make it work. So yeah, I mean, I've already heard from people that have used it in the theater. Now, to be clear, it's the theaters that play the movie some weeks after it's already launched. So you've got some movie theaters that'll run those movies after they leave the theaters and go to the rental options. There are some theaters that'll continue to run those, and so once we have those tracks in the app, if they're in the theater, you can theoretically use them. So really, I think going into next year, I'm hoping that we can make some progress on those relationships. Again, we're very, very much indebted to and grateful to the studios that participate and share this content with us. But I think it's just a matter of continuing to have those conversations and see if we can make that work. Because I know that going in there and getting those little boxes with the
they
headphones,
don't always work.
It just doesn't always work. I'm happy that we have them, but my experience has been more frustrating than positive a lot of times to get them to work. And so wouldn't it be cool to have your own headphones, your own device, and your own control over that experience?
Almost definitely. I can't remember going into a theater. I won't mention the brands, but it's one of the two big brands. And for the last year, I think maybe I had it work one time. And, I go to the movie theater. My wife, she's hearing impaired, so she gets the closed caption glasses. I get the video glasses, and, we sit there and enjoy the movie with my daughter. But, 99.9% of the time they don't work, and you talk to them and they're like, well, we're working on it, they've been working on it for a year. So.
Well, a part of the issue is, think of it, even growing up, movie theaters, those were a great place to get a job as a teenager. And so when you think about it, you've got some high turnover with teenage workers that don't really hold on to that training tightly. And so you end up having an experience that matches that. But before the pandemic came around, I had a stack of free movie passes for bad experiences that I had with those boxes. A stack, 2.5 inches deep at least.
Yeah, you and me both.
and so, when the pandemic struck, I think it was March 2020, we were told to not come back to the office. This thing was sort of raging, and we had this idea already wrapped up for the Spectrum Access app to launch later that year, but we sort of in light of all that was happening, we wanted to get this tool into people's hands because we knew they were going to be spending way more time in their home with their own entertainment and that kind of thing. And if we can make it more accessible, that would be great. And so on May 4th, 2020, we launched the app, and I started dreaming up this idea about the theatrical experience and how I could really, stop collecting those free passes. As nice as it was to have free passes, it would sure be nicer to just not have a bad experience when I came in there.
Oh, yeah. You want to enjoy the big screen and everything, but right. You'd also want to be able to share it with your family and friends and then have to fight with it. I wish the big players, we won't mention them, but we all know who they are, would just take it a little serious, kind of like Spectrum's taking, their responsibilities, and they're doing a great job. So hopefully...
Well, I'll take this time to say, if there's anybody out there listening that has a relationship with their local theater or their big chain theater or anything that can help us get there with these relationships and get that content into the app so that you can have more control over that experience, I'd love to make that happen. I'd love to have those conversations. It's just a matter of getting there.
Sounds good. So let me ask you this question, since you said, pretty much the flexibility. So I was flying back from Greece. You don't think there's any issue with that?
I think there's no issue with flying to Greece. I love that. I love Greece.
The entertainment.
Well,
after you and I met, I jumped on a plane that same day.
On the airplane, right? The entertainment on the airplane, yeah. Well, the biggest challenge. So theoretically, no, because again, that track that you download, it doesn't require Wi-Fi. So even if the Wi-Fi in the plane is out, that you have a movie going, you can do the synchronization. The only challenge is your phone. Once you start the sync process, it kicks on that microphone, and it needs to be able to pick up the sound of the movie. So whatever medium yeah, that's right. Whatever medium it's playing on, you somehow have to get that audio onto or into the microphone of your device so that it can synchronize. So long as you have a reliable way to get that sound loud enough to where your microphone can pick it up, I think you're solid. So if you're running a movie on your iPad or something like that, for sure you'd probably be able to make that happen. And then you can have the iPad in one ear and the Spectrum Access app in the other ear once you're done. But those little TVs that are on the screens in front of you, those, you typically have to have those little headphones. And I've never made an attempt to turn the volume all the way up on those and put one of the earbuds up to the microphone. Next time I fly, I might give that a try and see. I have a suspicion
you and I have to design a little Bluetooth device that will be your headsets and also a microphone to tie into your phone to sync them all up there.
Yeah, that's right. You got a little. If you have a little speaker with a 3.5 jack that you can plug in.
Yep.
Instead of the earbuds, maybe you can get.
Hey, we can retire. We got the new invention there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, once you do, then you'll have to unplug that and plug some earbuds back in, because the flight attendants are going to come around and get onto you.
Complain, yeah.
But yeah, that's really the only challenge. So, and I don't know that I have a workaround for that quite yet, but maybe that's something to think about.
So, what is Spectrum doing in the future? Any projects you'd like to let us know about, or how are they dealing with the new laws about making sure all the content's got accessibility to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's exciting down path. Obviously, I mentioned Zumo earlier. I think that's going to be a product for the future that will allow us to innovate and stay modern and creative. So there's probably more to come on that platform that's going to be really exciting. Particularly if you think of the Spectrum set-top box, or any set-top box for that matter. You've got the SAP, or secondary audio programming, and for years we've been sort of fighting between the battle of the Spanish versus audio description that's coming through the same channel. And so
I wish they'd put another channel in there, because sometimes it's hard. My wife is Latin, so we have sometimes the battle between the audio description and the second language.
Right. That's right.
And so we just need another channel there.
If you create another audio channel, we realize that you can really impact the quality of video and sound, because it's an old product. I mean, I think cable boxes are old technology, and so really IP or Internet Protocol solutions give you a lot more flexibility. So on your stream box that you have, maybe Apple TV or Roku or Zumo or whatever it is, you've got way more flexibility there. So you can turn on whatever track you need. You need audio description, you can turn that on. You need the Spanish, you can turn that on. So it works a little bit differently. So that's why I say that Zumos are probably going to be the solution for those kind of things in the future. Now, a couple other things to mention. So I mentioned the theatrical sort of pie in the sky dreams for the app. I think there's probably also an opportunity, just a little sneak peek, that there might be an opportunity for American Sign Language to be in the app as well. I know you've got an audience mostly focused on blindness and low vision, but I think that's pretty exciting. If you know somebody who's really ASL oriented, that can be really cool instead of the closed captions for that audience. And really, I think just probably the thing to mention here is the way that we innovate for the future is through feedback. So Ben and I found each other at a conference, and I do a good deal of those conferences. And the reason why I do is not only to share what we're up to, but to hear what our customers have to say about their experience. And when I hear those stories, when I hear challenges or maybe an area of opportunity for us, I take that back with me and I feed it directly into our engineering teams, and they see how quickly they can turn those around. Sometimes it's right away. Sometimes it's overnight. And Spectrum Access app is largely built around that feedback. In fact, like the captions, I had a deaf-blind customer that told me, boy, it would really be nice to read captions with a Braille display. And it took us, I think, a month to turn that around and make the app functional with a Braille display. So you can navigate the app with a Braille display, and you can read the captions with a Braille display once you've completed sync. So those are the kinds of things that we're really focused on. Innovation comes from feedback.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. And, one of the things Wisdom for the Blind is getting ready to announce next year, Wisdom for the Hearing Impaired. So we're trying to always move forward just like you guys. Is there anything that we've left out that you'd like to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I've given out the phone number for Spectrum Access, spectrumaccess@charter.com, and I hope to run into folks on the road when I'm out there and gather feedback. And thank you for everything that you do with the podcast and all the resources. I think that's fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, and I hope you'll come back and share some of the things. I really want to thank the upper management of Spectrum for putting such great products out for our community, and not looking for any kind of, it's supporting all over the United States. And that's kudos to the corporation and stockholders and everything. I really need to commend you guys for doing that and all your hard work in getting that group going and your whole team. I hope you and I could remain communicating together and have you back with some new stuff that you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ben.
I appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Share the Wisdom. Hopefully you got some great stuff with this episode. And remember, share the wisdom by telling a friend, and come back and see us and share the podcast. Once again, this is Ben with Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for listening.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's w4tb.org, and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind.
What's more perfect than exploring other cultures and dipping your toes in turquoise waters? And doing these things with your family and, of course, your brothers and sisters at Wisdom for the Blind. Don't miss Wisdom for the Blind's first Caribbean Forum at Sea aboard the Carnival Celebration, with games including mini golf, a relay race, basketball, and more. There will be learning workshops in technology, the VA, and medical advancements for the blind. The cruise sets sail from Miami on October 27, 2024, and will go through amazing ports like Costa Maya and Cozumel in Mexico, and Mahogany Bay in Roatan, along with 3 spectacular days at sea. Make lasting friends and incredible memories while learning about fabulous cultures and customs. The cruise starts at just $405 per person based on double occupancy, not including taxes and fees. Go online to w4tb.org/forum or email Wisdom for the Blind at forum@w4tb.org. Book now, space is limited, and don't forget to share the wisdom and tell a friend.
VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision-impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Share the Wisdom. Please look out for the next episode coming soon. And visit us on the web at www.w4tb.org. This has been Share the Wisdom with your host, Mr. Benjamin Keeley. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind Studios and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International.